This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Thank you, Council, for joining. We do have some Council participating virtually. We have some Council participating here in person. I'm now going to call the meeting to order, and I would just ask our Council that are participating virtually just to keep your cameras on if you don't mind. So I would ask now, under agenda item 2, if we have any additions to the agenda. And I know Councillor McDougall does. If you want to turn on your microphone, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, the walk and track, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other additions this evening?
I do, Your Worship.
Okay.
Lighting at ball fields.
Okay. Lighting at ball fields, and
I believe through the committee of the whole, we're going to address the water bottles. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, ball fields. Are you talking about the Dan ball fields? Dan, okay. Thank you. And I think I heard Councillor McCrory. Did you have an addition?
Yes, Your Worship, the efficiency assessment.
Sorry?
The efficiency assessment, we had an efficiency assessment done through the spring and summer, and I'm just wondering what's the status that we were to receive a report about that.
Okay, any other additions this evening? I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda with the 3 additions.
Motion
So
moved.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Coyne, or sorry, Deputy Mayor Coyne, seconded by Councillor McCrory. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the agenda is approved with 3 additions. So our next item is under acknowledgements. I do have a few acknowledgements, and then I'll open up the floor to see if council have any other acknowledgements as well. I'd like to start off by offering congratulations on behalf of council to the Sarah Girls High School volleyball team. They had a 5-game win and 0-game loss at the Nova Scotia Division 2 Provincial Championships, and they took gold home over the weekend. So definitely a huge congratulations, and we are going to post something on our electronic sign outside the Civic Center just to offer that congratulations on behalf of council. So that's great. Also, I'd like to just let folks know that Seasonal Services is still actively taking names. So if anybody knows anyone from town who may need a little extra support with food over the holidays, please get in contact with me over the next week or so. Food boxes will be delivered early in the AM on December 19th, and folks that are added to the list we just have to be home in person to accept those food boxes. I'd also like to congratulate town staff on the absolutely excellent parade that was held on Sunday, and also the holiday events that happened concurrently. Very well received in the community, and I know Council or Deputy Mayor Coyne, you participated if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I attended the face painting and the entertainment here at the Bear Headroom, and it was great to see so many people out. The kids were really enjoying Santa and the parade. I can't say enough about it. It was very well organized, very well attended. The amount of floats was incredible. The work that went into those floats really kicked off the holiday season.
Yeah, so kudos to all the folks that put submissions into the parade. Yeah. I'm sad that I didn't get to see it in person. I was away, but I was able to see all the pictures on social media and definitely getting lots of feedback from citizens who really enjoyed it. I'd also like to take the opportunity to wish citizens and our town staff happy holidays on behalf of council, and also personally to extend merry holiday wishes to council and all of their families. And just to make a note that this is our last meeting of 2021, so I definitely look forward to working with everyone in 2022. And I would open the floor for any other acknowledgements.
I have one, Your Honor.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead, over you.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to recognize MAD Canada. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony on Monday at Sarek. The holiday campaign is on, And it's a very important time of year to get the message out, to not be drinking and driving or driving under the influence of any sort. And anybody who's watching, maybe remind our children not to be getting into vehicles with impaired drivers as well.
Absolutely, that's a great message. Councilor McQuarrie, you have your speaker on. Did you want to add anything under acknowledgements?
Oh, my apologize, Your Worship. I didn't realize that.
No, no worries. I just didn't want you to miss out on anything. Councilors McIver and McDougall, do you have anything to add under acknowledgements?
No, I'm fine, Your Worship.
Okay.
No, I'm fine also, Your Worship. Just Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you, Councilor McDougall. So now we're going to move on to approval of council minutes. So the first is a public hearing held November 2nd, 2021. I would ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions. There was also a public meeting held November 2nd, 2021, and the minutes would have been in your agenda packages. I would ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions. Lastly, we do have an emergency public meeting held on November 9th, 2021. I'd ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions to those meeting minutes. Okay, hearing none, I would ask with those three sets of minutes if there are any business arising from those.
Yes, Your Worship, I have a question on one.
Sure.
On November 9th, minutes, number 6 on November 9th, the special emergency public meeting, the old Sydney Road intersection discussion, our topic, our motion. I noticed that hasn't been finished. Is there a date of finish, and is there a reason why it was stopped?
Okay, so I guess I'll defer to our CAO, Terry Doyle. Go ahead, Terry.
Yes, Your Worship. So the old Sydney Road, Granville Street intersection project is not completed. There's still work that's required by Public Works employees to do some asphalt repairs beside curb. Weather just has not permitted us to move ahead with that. Sidewalk expansion on Sydney Road was completed and as requested by council. Sidewalk on Granville Street from Sydney Road was taken as far as we possibly could with the conditions that we had in place. So what had occurred after more than 200 millimeters of rain was a saturated condition on the ground underneath the sidewalk. So we took the sidewalk as far as we could, dug out existing ground, put additional aggregate under the sidewalk, and taken that sidewalk as far as we could with the contractor to where the panels stopped breaking up. So Dexter Construction, that's all that Dexter Construction were able to do at this time of year. So the amount of work, all the work that was requested was as much as possible of that was completed. The request to continue down Granville Street was not to further than anticipated, was not possible. We did extend the amount of concrete there as much as possible.
Do you have any follow-up questions, Councilor McDougall?
Yeah, I guess my question would be, what's as much as possible with a construction company like Dexter? What do you mean by as much as possible?
To you, Your Worship, Dexter Construction would not guarantee work. They did not want to do as much as they did, but they exposed the amount of concrete that they thought was possible to complete. They completed that work at extra cost because of the extra gravels and rock that had to be put in just to finish off the piece that we did. They did not want to complete the work that we had requested them to do. It was against their recommendation, and they did not wish to complete that. As much work as practical and weighing in quality control and reasonable expenses. The work that was done on the sidewalk in Granville Street was the maximum amount that we could do effectively this time of year under the saturated soil conditions that we had. It was definitely not practical. It was definitely not something that was recommended by engineering, by Dexter, or and it was decided not to proceed with that.
Okay, Councilor McDougall.
Yes, Your Worship. Sorry, through you. So is there a date? Are we going to follow up? I mean, that's the motion of council to do that job. We're just going to not do it and say, that's it? There's nobody in Nova Scotia that can do cementing? Is there a time? Are we going to continue sometime in the future?
Through you, Your Worship, to continue that work through the winter period. If it's a wish of council to tear out the rest of that sidewalk and put that in unsuitable conditions, unguaranteed, with an expected failure over the winter period, certainly staff would be more than happy to do that. It's certainly not the recommendation of the CAO. It's not the recommendation of the contractor. But if it's the wish of council to move ahead and complete work that's not recommended by the professionals that control this work, then we can certainly do that work in January or February, or we can look at completing that work in the spring.
I guess the recommendation would be to do it when the conditions are most suitable for guaranteeable work.
Yes, Your Worship. I agree with you to do it at conditions, of course, that they're suitable. But I'm just wondering, we're done for this year. So in the spring, can we do it to the areas that were moved in the motion? Are we just saying?
So my understanding would be that when the conditions are suitable, that work would be continued. Is that correct understanding?
That's correct.
Yeah. Any other follow-up questions? Does that answer your question?
No, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm assuming my answer, it'll be done in the spring or when the weather.
Yeah. When the weather is, I guess, when it's suitable conditions so that they can guarantee the work.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship.
You're very welcome. Any other business arising from the 3 sets of minutes? Okay, we're going to move on to council committee reports. So,
Sorry, now I meant to have my mic on and it was off. Just one correction, Your Worship, for the November 2nd minutes. You should be added as being present at that meeting.
yeah, we'll make a note to let Melissa know to make that correction. Thank you. Okay, so under council committee reports, do we have any motions coming forward from our committee reports, Terry?
Yes, Your Worship. There's 3 items coming from Committee of Whole. The first is a recommendation from Committee of Whole for consideration of a motion that the town of Port Hawkesbury proclaim the week of November 21st to 28th, 2021 as Restorative Justice Week.
Thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
I would move it, Your Worship.
Okay, so moved by Councillor McIver and seconded by Deputy Mayor Coyne. If you're prepared, you can call the question. Question has been called. All those in favor? Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, motion is carried.
The next motion coming from Committee of Whole for consideration is that the town of Port Hawkesbury approves the 2021 holiday schedule as presented at the November 16th Committee of Whole meeting.
Thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
Motion moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Coyne,
Seconded.
seconded by Councilor McCrory. If you're prepared, you can call the question.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is carried.
And Madam Chair, there was discussion on the sale of bottled water in town facilities.
Okay,
And the request from Committee of Whole was to have further discussion on the subject at our next Committee of Whole. The next Committee of Whole has been, items have been deferred from that Committee of Whole to this meeting. So
Sure.
I bring that forward for discussion, further discussion.
sure. Okay. I know Councilor McCrory had circulated a document. I'm not sure, Councilor, did you circulate that to all of council? That from, I think it was a example of a policy from Yarmouth.
I just submitted that. I just sent that out to all of council and Terry there late this afternoon. Oh, so no, you're referring to the first document there, the purchase and use of bottled water policy? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I just included that because that's the policy of the province of Nova Scotia, that they have a ban, the province has a ban on bottled water.
okay. Okay, thank you. So I guess I'll open up the floor for discussion. Does anybody want to go first?
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
So it was brought to my attention from our current canteen, cafeteria, cafe operator that people have been requesting to buy bottled water, and that some people are not comfortable with using a refill or no-touch refill stations during a pandemic. And we discussed this in the last Committee of Whole, and it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that we can sell flavored water or carbonated water, but we can't sell spring water. So when we have our young athletes coming off the ice from minor hockey, we would rather give them a bottle of Pepsi or sugar-filled water instead of a bottled water. And when we have people coming from away to our facility to watch hockey or even come to concerts, chances are they're not bringing a refill cup with them. So in my mind, it only makes sense to do this for 1 year, see where the pandemic is in a year, and revisit it then.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay. Anybody else from council? Any other discussion items? Councilor McDougall?
No, Your Worship. I thought I said all I could say at the last meeting.
Okay. Councilor McCrory?
Yes, Your Worship. I guess the whole reason this was adopted.
Apologies, could you be at mine turning your camera on?
Pardon me?
Could you turn your camera on when you're speaking? Thank
Sure.
you.
So yes, Councillors McIver and McDougall both laid out the rationale for the town adopting this as a policy in terms of the banning of single-use water bottles, probably about 15 years ago, I think, or 14 years ago. And it had to do with being environmentally conscious and the impacts that the disposal of single-use water bottles has on our landfill. The councillor or the deputy mayor Coyne mentions, how come we don't ban the sale of flavored waters and decarbonated waters products? Well, the reason we don't is we don't make that. But the town and other municipalities across the country produce their own drinking water. And the whole notion, I think, was to promote that, and that the drinking water made by municipalities was good water, and not listen to the hype of companies like Nestle about their product being better and safer when our municipal water is tested much more. So I've given this some thought after the last meeting, and I was initially thinking that I could be supportive of Councillor or Deputy Mayor Coyne's position on this, but when I did look into it some more, no, I'm not persuaded that that's the way to go. I'd prefer to keep the policy that we have in place going forward. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship,
Sure.
to Councillor McCrory. I'm hearing you talking about both sides of your mouth here. You're telling me that you're worried about the environment with the single-use bottles, but it's okay to sell these other plastic bottles because we don't produce the water. Which is it? Is it that we're worried about our water being promoted, or are we worried about landfill? Because right now you're going two different ways.
Deputy Mayor, I beg to differ. You read materials, yes, the flavored water, Pepsi bottles and stuff are going to landfills as well. But the amount of single-use water bottles is astronomical. That's why cities like Toronto have banned that they're not allowed to use that in their public spaces. And other municipalities, there are a number of other municipalities that have, and including in the articles I sent to you, there's some recent changes even in Prince Edward Island around this issue. So yeah, so I don't see myself speaking out of both sides of my mouth. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, Your Worship, I guess I'll make a comment.
Sure.
We went through at the last meeting the rationale, what we did this 13 or 14 years ago. And the rationale was exactly what Councillor, not exactly, but probably not 95% what Councillor McCrory just mentioned. You know, we, at that time, my recollection was the biggest part was we wanted the citizens of Port Hawkesbury, I mean, and everybody else to know that our water was the safest and drinking water in Canada. And at that time, when it was tested, it was one of the top. I mean, I can understand what Deputy Mayor is saying about the bottle, the pop bottles and the flavored water going to landfill. But the pop and the flavored water that are going into those containers are not coming out of the taps of Port Hawkesbury, which the bottled water is. And it's here, and it's good, and it's was at the time was the second best in Canada. Thank you.
At the time it was the second best, but can we say it's the best now, Councilor McDougall?
You know what, Your Worship, it may well be, but I often said that would be one of the best spots in Canada for making beer.
Must be the water. So I guess what is the wishes of council with this item? And I do have one quick question. So were we able to track down our actual physical policy, like a bottled water policy at this time?
No, Your Worship, we have a motion, we have record of a
We
motion.
just have record of a motion, but we don't have an actual policy. So I would recommend, for the consideration of council, that we, take a look at making sure that we do have a policy in place. And if we can't find the original, then we should consider having I guess, a more modernized policy around this.
Just a question, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on the table now, or is there a motion on?
No, there's no motion. It's just purely discussion at this point.
Oh, I thought it came from the motions from last in camera meeting or something.
Yeah, just the topic in general was tabled to committee of the whole. But I don't know how council feels about at least taking a look at the adoption of a policy in light of the fact that we can't seem to find hours at this point in time. And perhaps it could be modernized in a way that reflects the current times.
Your worship, I would like to put a motion on for the sale of bottled water so we can move forward one way or another.
Sure. Okay.
You know, I was in Port Arena last weekend and they're selling bottled water and they have good water there. And I just think if we're going to promote Pepsi and all other pops and sugared water, then I think we should probably promote the sale of bottled water.
Okay. Would anybody like to second the motion?
I'll second the motion, Your Worship.
Okay, the motion has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded.
Nay.
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 Okay, the motion is not approved. I guess before we move on though, like what is the wishes of council with regard to, I guess, should we put that policy with, like, whenever we meet next about bylaws and policies, like at our next committee of the whole? Is council supportive of at least having something on our books with regard to bottled water policy?
Yes.
Yes, your worship, if a draft policy can be brought forward to our next committee of the whole, I think that'd be appropriate for us to review and then see how we go forward from there.
Before we, through you, Your Worship, before we don a task on staff to draft this policy, maybe council can via email send some direction to Terry on what we would like to see in that policy, and we can maybe get it passed a little quicker instead of staff drafting policy and then us tearing it apart. Maybe some input in on that.
Yeah, or even if we take a look at a couple of examples and take the best that's existing in other places across the province who have a similar policy adopted. Thank you for the suggestion, Councilor McIver. Over to you, your mic on.
Yes, Worship, I agree. Bring something forward. Surprised that their policy is not there because I'm sure there was one, but
We'll find
bring
it
one
after.
forward at our next committee of the whole meeting and we can discuss it.
I think if not for anything else, that if we do have a vendor here at the Civic Center, you know, if were I a vendor, I would want to see the policy. If I wanted to sell something and someone, you know, told me I wasn't allowed because it's in policy, I would want to see the policy. So I think it would be appropriate for us to take a look at a policy and adopt one in lieu of the fact that we can't find the original. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else on that item? Okay, we'll move on then. Terry?
That's your
And
motion,
that
that's the
was
report from committee.
the final? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So with that, I would ask if there are any errors or omissions on our committee of the whole minutes dated November 16th, 2021. And if there are no errors or omissions, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the minutes by Deputy Mayor Coyne. Do we have a second? You can just put up your hand. Okay. Councilor McDougall?
I'll second it, Your Worship. Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Are there any business arising from the committee of the whole minutes at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to, well, agenda item number 8 is unnecessary. We didn't have a in-camera session, I don't believe, Terry, from our former minutes. nor this current meeting. So we'll move on to agenda item number 9, which is council reports on the assigned committees. And I guess I do offer this with the knowledge that we all gave committee updates just 2 weeks prior. There's probably not going to be a terribly large amount of updates, but if there are at this time, I would ask, I'll just go around to see if there are any updates. Councilor McIver, do you have any?
Yes, Your Worship. I think it was between the last report and now we had a district planning meeting.
Sure, yeah.
And also I have a Landry Lake Committee meeting on Thursday. I think that's it for this year.
Okay. Anything of note for the Eastern District Planning Committee meeting?
No, it was pretty straightforward, the meeting. I didn't have anything through the town of Port Hawkesbury that I've seen.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McDougall, any updates?
No, Your Worship, I sat in on a housing, and very interesting, by the way, housing committee meeting with yourself and Deputy Mayor. I sat in for Councillor McQuarrie, and it was very an interesting meeting. And we tried to have a SAT meeting, and again, we couldn't get a quorum. And like Councillor McIver said, Thursday we have a Landry Lake meeting, and that's it for me.
Okay, thank you for your update. Okay. Councilor McQuarrie, do you have any updates at this time?
Yes, Your Worship, on November 18th, we had a planning advisory committee, and there was discussion around zoning changes, which would have an impact on our housing challenges that we're facing here in Port Hawkesbury. The Eastern District Planning staff have been asked to bring a staff report back to the committee for review. The proposed changes we're looking to make will provide a possibility to have to be able to have residences accommodate garden, granny, secondary suites, as well as the development of multi-unit housing options. We also had some discussion around how we would engage the public around whatever proposed changes are brought forward. November 25th, I attended Eastern County Regional Library Board meeting. Councillor McDougall attended the Housing Committee for me. We adopted a code of conduct policy for board members. We, over this past year, have undergone some major changes with how services are allocated amongst the various municipal units that fall under the Eastern Counties Regional Library, which caused some anguish for the municipality of Guysborough and the district of St. Mary's, because they ended up seeing a reduction in their services. Our CEO met with the council in the district of St. Mary's within the past month and a half, made a presentation, reviewed the funding. The council was very receptive to their meeting and put forward a proposal to the library board that they would contribute an extra $10,660 towards library services, with a view that we would be able to provide more service to them. So we sent a reply back, and we had a status update on the new Shedicamp library and regarding the installation of an automated book boring machines at the Civic Center. And finally, November 30th, last week, the Reeve Street Pilot Project Committee met, and we met with Don Mills, the pollster, and we reviewed a draft poll or survey that he put together, which is very comprehensive. I personally was very pleased with what was presented, and he's going to come back with another revision of that, and I believe the goal is to have that circulated or put into effect in January. So those are my updates.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Coyne?
Yes, Your Worship. I'm going to echo a lot of the comments from the other councillors. Eastern District Planning Commission with Councillor McIver. which was a good meeting. Parks and Rec, we tried again for quorum and we weren't able to get it. The Reeve Street Committee was a very interesting meeting. The couple of ways that we're looking at doing surveys seem to be capturing a large audience and getting the information that we need and that the province needs to make a final decision. The Housing Advisory Committee, as Councillor McDougall had mentioned, might have been the best Housing Advisory Committee meeting I've sat in on so far. We seem to get a lot accomplished and some good ideas, and you know, in talks of hoping to be able to hire a staff member in the not so distant future, and the Planning Advisory Committee meeting as well.
Okay, thank you for your updates. Just to add to what has already been shared thus far, I guess it would be, we can just give a little bit of an update on a meeting that had been suggested through our Housing Advisory Committee, was for a few committee members to meet with a few local developers just to look at the merits of our survey data, and that was a very positive meeting. I don't know, Terry, if you want to give a little bit of an update on
that. Sure.
So I mean, I guess just like what parts of the data that they thought was most suitable was likely around how much, I guess, what are those windows of rental amounts that folks are willing to pay, as well as some of the information, especially the personal information of citizens who wanted to be contacted by developers. I think they found that pretty useful as well.
Yeah, we had some, yes, Your Worship, we had some excellent feedback from two local developers with respect to the survey. Very positive responses, which was great to see from that confirms the thoughts of the Housing Committee and our partners in this venture, and also some other very valuable advice on how to move forward and to encourage developers in this region. So it was a very, very good meeting.
So we're definitely good, and there was, I think, a willingness on behalf of some of those local developers to kind of reconvene again once we have a little bit more information, just to give us some further guidance on how we might be able to better engage investors and developers for various housing projects to bridge some of the gap that our town is experiencing currently in 2022. So we'll definitely update council as that file progresses. One other thing that I will add that I won't spend a whole lot of time on because Gordy will be including it in his report for our weekly accessibility meetings for our working group have continued, and they're very good meetings. We're definitely moving forward on that file. And I guess that's pretty much it for committee reports. Then we do have our committee of the whole in January. We should be able to capture most of the meetings we had in early January as well as the tail end of December. Okay, so with that, we will move on to CO reports. Over to you, Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. For this meeting, I will go through the reports that have been prepared by the department heads with respect to engineering and public works, facilities, operations, parks, marketing, recreation, culture, tourism, finance, and bylaws and policy. So so the reports have been distributed. I will not go through in detail about each report, but I'll hit some highlights. Just a congratulations to our staff members. They attended the AIMS Network Asset Management Conference. Town of Port Hawkesbury has really taken a leadership role on asset management as first of all the town that was selected as the pilot project a number of years ago, and then advancing this project to the point where we're presenting at an Atlantic Provinces conference on the progress that we've made. So the conference was attended by Jason McMillan, Gordy Snook, and Ross McGinnis. Again, tons of progress being made on that file, and very proud of the innovative work that we've been able to do on that side.
Good job.
The Philpott Street, our sidewalk has been completed by our staff on that. Certainly from staff's perspective, an excellent job on that. We've talked about the Granville Street, Sydney Road intersection upgrades. We're really waiting for weather. There's some lining that has to be done, which you can't do when under wet and frozen conditions, as well as some asphalt that we have to place around the curb. We've been waiting for the curb to cure before we start vibrating beside it to get the asphalt down. We've taken the sidewalk at this point in time as far as we possibly can, but as we've indicated, we will go back in the spring and finish our commitment. Tenders completed, awarded Landry Lake, and we're in the process of completing our motor control center project at the water treatment plant. From facilities and operations, number of great things happening on that side. We have Gordy Snook has completed an application submitted to Efficiency Nova Scotia for rebate on tennis court lighting. So we're moving forward with that lighting project. We pleased to support Body and Soul expansion of open hours that will now include a Sunday opening from 9 to 1 p.m. The mayor had mentioned work on the accessibility committee. There's a tremendous amount of progress on that file. The committee is dedicated and meeting on a weekly basis to move this to create this our plan. We have a survey in place now, which is titled "How to Help Make Port Hawkesbury More Accessible," and really interested in seeing feedback. We have an accessibility face group site that's been maintained by Kathy Cook, and we've gotten some great feedback, and Gordy has included that feedback in your report. Yeah, so these are some concerns, and I won't go through those at this time. Excellent work on marketing, recreation, and tourism. Again, the mayor mentioned our annual Christmas parade, which from everything we hear was a phenomenal success, both from the activities that occurred during the day and the parade itself. Tremendous community support, both with respect to people attending the parade and the number of floats that have been that were submitted were well beyond our expectations. We've added a second night for holiday paint. The town Christmas light decoration contest judging is scheduled now for December 16th. So we'll have prizes provided for the best decorated home and the best decorated business. Phenomenal event that we have on Christmas Eve. That's a family celebration. That we're going to be able to have again this year, and really looking forward to that. That event is attended by not only residents but many families from the Strait area. Pardon me? New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, yes. On finance, our provincial reporting is complete. Shared IT project. So this is a large initiative. So a joint municipal venture on the creation of IT services that will service the Strait regional municipalities. There's been a hire done for director of that organization, and the person hired is David Muse. David comes to the Strait with an extensive background in information technology services and municipal government. He has most recently provided similar services to the Municipal Joint Services Board in Lunenburg County. And that's one of the examples that we used in creating this joint IT service. So we're very happy to have David join us and help serve Strait area municipalities. And there's been a press release actually issued by our municipalities with respect to David's appointment. And that is the CAO reports, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I would ask at this time if council have any questions or points of clarification that they require. Councilor McDougall.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Terry, can you go back one on your slide there? I was just looking, no, you're back, yeah, right there, the clerk's pension meeting. Can you give us a little update on that? What's going on there with 21/7 for, it'll be increased, you're saying?
Yeah, so that's attended by our CFO. So the CFO, there's one pension that's carried under the clerk's pension plan, and I'd ask for if Aaron can help me answer the question with respect to that meeting.
Over to you, Erin.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. So there's an actuarial valuation done every 3 years based on legislation on the clerk's pension. So we fund the clerk's pension from a previously retired clerk. It needs to be funded annually based on that actuarial review. I think in the last 3 years, our annual funding was around $7,000. And it's moving to 21,000 in 2022. And I did report on that a while back. There is a new piece of legislation that requires pensions be funded based on not being a going concern, which is a change to the requirement for funding. So that added, I think, around $7,000 on top of our annual contribution. Nothing we can do about it. But the other piece of that would be based on the fund deficit, I guess, and funding that deficit over time. So it's increasing slightly, not significantly, and it's something we've been doing and funding based on that actuarial valuation that happens every 3 years. Does that answer the question?
Perfectly. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any follow-up questions, Councilor McDougall?
Oh, Your Worship, thank you.
Okay, any other questions with regard to the CAO reports? Okay, hearing none then, we're going to move on. So we don't have any correspondence this evening, nor proclamations or resolutions. Under agenda item number 13, we do have 2 items under other business. The first is for information, and that's council expenses. So I will hand these over to Terry for that review.
Yes, Your Worship. So councillors have been the expense report for the month of November has been sent to council and will be posted on our website after this meeting. There's been a total of $2,100 expended during the month of November. So we see we're starting to see some conferences open and councillors and staff being able to attend some events. So that's a good sign in development and moving the town forward. So that is the expense report, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? Okay, so our next item is, I do believe that Councillor or Deputy Mayor Coyne has declared a conflict on the next item, so I would ask that he leave for the short term. We will let you know when the item is resolved. That's a good plan. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, so our next item under other business is the first reading of the taxi bylaw, and I would ask for our CEO, Terry Doyle, to, I guess, do we need to do any kind of review, or are we okay with presenting this motion?
So it was the request of council that we bring forward first reading of the amended or new taxi bylaw, and the motion for consideration with respect to that review is that the town of Port Hawkesbury approves first reading to the amended taxi bylaw, and for the town of Port Hawkesbury to hold a public hearing on January 4th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Perfect.
So that's the hour before our next public meeting in January.
Okay, that's great. What is the wishes of council?
I would move that, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McDougall. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councilor Corey. Any discussion on the motions on the, you're ready?
Question?
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. Is there anything else for that item?
That's complete, Your Worship.
Okay, so we will recall our deputy mayor before we go on to approved additions. That was super quick. I think he heard me. Here he comes. Thank you for texting him, Jason. Appreciate it. Okay, so our next agenda item under 14 is approved additions. The first item is walking tracks. So Councilor McDougall has added this. So we'll have Councilor McDougall introduce it. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been getting calls, and I'm sure the rest of you's been getting calls or discussions about the weather's getting cold, and a lot of people walking, and particularly seniors, are looking to walk the walking track. I'm just wondering if we can put our collective heads together and get something done about that. I think we discussed it a little this afternoon, and I mentioned it to Gordy, and he talked to me, and I think we can probably get our heads together and do something.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Did you want to, I guess, comment on that, Terry? I guess what are some, I guess, preliminary things that we would need to consider to extend those hours?
Yes, Your Worship. So there's certainly desire from all to extend the hours of the walking track. There are some obstacles or some considerations that have to be considered. Proof of vaccination in operating this facility is always a challenge. It becomes more of a challenge on the weekend. The arena space is controlled by the renters off the arena space over the weekend, and that's minor hockey. So we have reached out to minor hockey, and we will be working with them to find a solution. We're certain that we can increase the hours. So it's just a matter of trying to work out the logistics around that, and we'll do whatever we can around that. And certainly we can reach out to the council prior to the next meeting as soon as we possibly can to open, get more hours for the walking track for the people that enjoy that facility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's the type of activity that would require some kind of vetting around double vaccinations and being able to gain access to that space. So logistically, I guess we'll probably in the short term, I guess if there is some kind of a scenario or a plan that can be moved forward, is council okay with maybe just having something kind of presented to council via email so that we don't delay the process any longer than we need to at satisfactory, Councilor McDougall?
No, that's fine, Your Worship. Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Thacker, over to you.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. What are the hours for the walking track right now?
That's a great question.
So right now it's walking track is open when the offices are open. And I'll just Gordy still can confirm those hours.
Through Your Worship, the Monday to Friday we're open 6 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. and they're closed in the evenings and on the weekends.
Hey, I guess just to follow up on that question, Councilor McIver, over to Councilor McDougall. Some of the questions you were getting from citizens, are they hoping to be able to walk in the evenings, or is it the weekends? So is there any specific requests that came forward to you?
Well, yes, your worship, mostly the weekends. There is times during the weekdays, but it's closed totally in the weekends. I mean, there's things we can do, and I mean, I don't want to hold up the whole meeting on this because, you know, everything from when I know that everybody has to be double vaccinated, and I agree with that. But you can do it once and have a lanyard or something for they can have around their neck when they're walking. I don't think the numbers are going to be that astronomical. I think it's mostly the seniors that want to walk and get out of the cold weather. So I think we can work our heads around it, hopefully.
Yeah, that's interesting. That at least would kind of indicate to staff if there was kind of a lanyard once you register and you present your double vaccination records, then you could have something that you just take to the gym, so you don't have to show it again. And thank you for the suggestion. And over to you, Councilman McCrory. You have a question or comment?
Sorry, Your Worship, no, not on this topic, sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so I guess staff will get back to us with regard to what potentially could be done on the weekends in consultation with minor hockey. And I guess whatever that scenario may look like, they can certainly let council know so that we can pass on that information to citizens, I guess, who are interested in using the walking track on the weekends. Because I know that we all support an active and healthy community, even on Saturday and Sunday. So now that the weather is getting a little bit tricky, it will be nice. And I think one other consideration too that I would pass on to Gordy that I probably don't need to mention is just, you know, some folks who may need to use the elevator on the weekends too, just that there would be access to that, as well as the washroom facilities on the second floor and access to the walking track from that side of the building as well. Okay. So with that, is there anything lingering, Councilor McDougall, on that item?
No, we seem to touch everything there, Your Worship. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so the next item is lighting on the Dan Milley ball field. So I'll hand things over to Deputy Mayor Point to introduce that item.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to ask council tonight if we could to ask or give permission to or direction to staff to seek out what lighting we actually need at the Dan Milley ball field and a price for said lighting. I think it's an important part of the rec grounds. We're missing out on hosting some pretty good tournaments here in the area because of it. And I would like to try to get a price on this so we can start, applying for some funding that's possibly available. And if at the worst case scenarios, we know what we're up against, and the Parks and Recreation Committee can take a look at that as well.
Perfect. So I guess through Terry, just to see about some pricing or quotes, and then that at least then it can be a consideration during our council deliberations. And, even as like if we wanted to look at, okay, this is what it's going to cost, maybe we want to earmark a certain portion of that and try to get some funding pockets to be able to help subsidize some of that. No, that's good. Any comments or questions to Deputy Mayor for his request? I guess if you want to frame that in terms of a motion.
I'll see if we have any feedback first.
Usually we have a motion on the floor for discussion.
All right, let's put a motion forward.
Anyone would like to second that?
Second.
Second that, okay.
I think it was Councilor McIver seconded. So discussion on the motion is on the floor. Over to you, Councilor McIver.
I agree that get the information and then we can go forward with that and look and see if there's any grants or anything that would be available that we can tap into. Sure.
Councilor McDougall.
Yes, Your Worship, through you. This is something that, like Deputy Mayor McCoy mentioned, is something that we need, and we're losing out on a lot of tournaments. We're losing out on and soccer too. I think we should take a look at the soccer field. If we can do all the lights for the whole thing, it'd be fantastic. I know that years ago when we fixed the fields up, all the conduit is in there for the piping for the lights already. So that's a big saving. You know, coaching baseball over the years, like the deputy mayor said, we're missing out on a lot of tournaments, a lot of provincial tournaments. And I think it's something that's well overdue, and I certainly support this motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCrory, do you have any comments?
No, I don't, no, your worship, I don't.
Okay, if you're ready, you can call the question.
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Just,
Councillor McDougall?
aye, but I was just going to ask the question on the what is the motion? Is the motion to have staff look?
The motion is correct. It's just to request council, I guess, through Terry, just to have a bit of a staff report on what the costing would be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by
So
saying
your worship, just one sec. Just to pick up on the point that Councillor McDougall was making, can we not do both? Can we not have pricing obtained for the soccer field as well as the ball field? Can that be can that be the motion?
well, we do have one motion that doesn't indicate that. There would have to be a secondary motion to amend the original.
I would make an amendment to the motion that we do include the soccer field / football field. And the reason being that the conduit, I'm pretty sure, is over there also for the lighting. And I don't think it would be that much more, but that could be part of the pricing project. I would amend
We do
that.
have a motion, an amendment to the main motion on the floor. I will need a seconder for that amended motion.
Moved.
Okay, Councillor McCrory has seconded the amendment to the main motion. So is there any other discussion on the amendment to the main motion?
Question.
So if you're ready, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, so the amendment to the main motion has been approved, and now we will go back to the main motion, which is to get some costing on both the Dan Willie ball field, in addition to costing for lights for the soccer field.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Are we talking about the soccer field at Summer Park or the one at Tech?
It would be the soccer field at the Dan. That's part of that problem. At the Dan Willie. I'm assuming that's what you meant, Councillor McDougall.
Yes, Your Worship. What I'm saying is when we fixed the ball field / soccer field 14 or 15 years ago, when we put $250,000 into it, the conduit to put the lights there, all the piping and everything is under the ground. And I don't think it's going out to Tech, no, it's just going just across there to the next soccer field. It's that soccer field, yeah.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions, Councillor or Deputy Mayor? Sorry.
We're good.
Okay, so if there's any other discussion for the main motion, you're certainly welcome to ask any other questions. If not, you can call the question. Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded. Okay, the motion is approved. Is there anything else on that item?
No, that's good for now. Thank you.
Okay, so then the last item under additions is efficiency assessment, and I will ask Councillor McCrory to introduce that one.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe it was last May and June was the time frame that we had a energy efficiency audit conducted here in Port Hawkesbury on our facilities. And I'm just wondering, has the town received a report? Has there been anything been brought forward to town staff regarding this audit?
Okay, thank you. Jerry, any updates?
Yeah, yes, Your Worship. So the energy efficiency engineer hired by Efficiency Nova Scotia to service the county of Antigonish, the town of Port Hawkesbury, the county of Inverness and the county of Victoria, worked through the county of Acknowledgements and did initial work at the town of Port Hawkesbury. That work wasn't completed, and that person has left the employment of Efficiency Nova Scotia. That's been handed over to another efficiency engineer. We've inquired on a couple of occasions on the status, and we're waiting to hear back from that. We do know that the work, the data collection portion, and a lot of the analysis is done. We are still waiting for the report, and we have reached out to Efficiency Nova Scotia for that information. As of right now, we don't have it back yet.
Okay, any other questions on that? Councilor McCord.
No. Thanks for the information.
That's cement.
Okay, Councilor McDougall, do you have any questions on that item?
No, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, when Terry's saying there's is there a new person involved with that now?
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. We have been notified that there's a new hire to complete the work that was committed to. We do know that the files have been handed over to another engineer who's already working on other files. So we're waiting for that update. We've reached out to them a number of times. We just don't have an update on where our work and the work of our partners sits right now.
Okay, so as soon as there is information to share, staff can do so, I guess, at one of our following committees of the whole.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions for this last item? Okay, that brings us to agenda item 15, which is our future meetings. Our next public meeting will be held January 4th, followed by committee of the whole, January 18th, 2022. That's exciting. Brand new year. I would ask now if we have anybody joining us virtually that would have any questions for the question period. We don't have any members of our gallery here in person, but if there is anybody joining virtually who have any questions with regard to any of our agenda items, you're more than welcome to ask a question at this time. And if you do have any follow-up questions, of course, you're more than welcome to reach out to myself or Terry at any time. Happy to answer any questions. Okay, so hearing none, I would ask for council to make a motion of adjournment.
Before we do that, I'd like to take the time to wish our council and staff a happy holidays, everybody that's home watching, whether it's live now or on YouTube later. Enjoy your holidays, stay safe, and look forward to working with you in the new year.
Very good. I echo those sentiments. Everybody have a happy holiday and happy new year and literally next year. So moved by Deputy Mayor Coyne to adjourn. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor McIver. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. And